This is a video guide to the types of percentage questions you can find in the GCSE paper and the Functional Skills Level 2 paper, and how you can use a calculator to do these questions really quickly. And what this guide also does is it helps you differentiate between two main types of percentage questions that will help you if you're getting a bit confused about what kind of method to use. So everything here in yellow, including the pale yellow, uses a method that you may be more familiar with. So on the yellow side, they give you the percentage. You see how it says find 23%, and you're actually finding a number. And on the grey side here, so they give you two numbers and they want you to actually find out what percentage those are of each other. Okay, so we're going to dive straight in with the basics of the yellow side of the paper here. So with all of these questions on percentages, it's easiest if you have in your head what your starting number is, what you're doing to it, and then what the actual answer is that you need to find out. And it's the answer, that's what you're going to change into a decimal. So that percentage that you're trying to find at the end of your answer, you're going to change it into a decimal, and you're going to times that by your original number. So for example here, if we just do I'll just number these. So this is number 1, number 2, and number 3. So if we're doing number 1, so firstly I know that £62 is 100%, because that's our original, so we're going to have 100 pieces of that. And then it says find 40 pieces of it, so 40%. So if we have 62, over here we want to find 40%. This is literally what we're finding actually. So in that case, this is our decimal that we're going to have. So it's going to be, so whichever way around you like, it's going to be 62 times 0.4, which is this number as a decimal, okay? So 40% is 0.4, and that's it. And then you can see the answer here is £24.80. So these other two, this is where thinking about the answer really comes in handy. Okay, so if you have this number 2 question here, you can see that you're starting with £90, which you know is 100% because that's what we're starting with. Okay, and it says you increase it by 23%, so you're going to add on 23 more pieces. So these aren't, either of these are not the decimal you're going to find. You're going to find how much you're going to end up with in percent by the end of your question. And if you have 100% here, and you have 23% here that you're adding on, you can see altogether you're going to have 123%. So this is the decimal that you're going to find. So again, you take your amount, your £90, and if you times it by 1.23, that's the decimal of 123%, that will straight away find you 100% plus the 23%, so it will find you the answer straight away, which you can see here is £110.70. Okay, and you can see that just here. Okay, so number 3. So this time again, you're really thinking about what the answer's percentage is going to be. So if the first one, which is 100%, is £72, and so do you see here, if you're taking off 26 pieces, then what you'll be left with, the percentage that you'll be left with, is 74. So 100 pieces take away 26, you're going to have 74% left. So again, this is the decimal that you're going to do. So you do your £72, okay, and then you times it by your 0.74. Okay, so let's move on and have a look at the grey side now, and then we're going to go into more detail on some of those other yellow questions that you can have. So this is that second type of percentage. And what you're doing, if you ever have two numbers you're trying to figure something out, and you're comparing here. So if you want the decimal or the percentage, always put them in a fraction first, and then you can change that fraction to a decimal and then to a percentage, and that's what we're doing here. To change a fraction into percent, you just times it by 100 actually, and that changes it straight away. So one of the most important things here, so again, this top one here, is you're actually looking for the answer, and that's what you put at the top. And then again, you need to identify what's your original number, what was the number that will be 100%, and that's what you put at the bottom. Okay, so again, this number one here will give you a general idea, and then 2 and 3 are just a little bit more complicated. So if you want to show 32 out of 68, so literally 32 is what you're showing, so this will be your answer. Okay, and then your original number, so you should see here is 68, because that's what your whole number would be. So 68 would be your 100%, okay? Sometimes, again, it's easier to draw them out, so you can think about this, if this is 68, and 32 is probably just under a half. So you can see here, this would be 100% here. Okay, and we're trying to find this out. This is what the question's asking us. So you do 32 over 68 times 100. It's that simple. And that'll find you the percentage, okay? Right, so that's number one. Number two, however, so the number on top this time is a little bit harder to find. So it says the price changes from 62 to 71. It says find the percentage increase. So do you see the increase will be how much did it increase between these two? So to do that, you're going to have to do 71 minus 62 to find that increase there, which is 9. So this bit here is actually 9. So it says it wants you to find the increase. So what you want to find, the answer that goes at the top of the fraction this time, is 9. It's not going to be either of those two numbers. It's the new number that you found. And then, so remember the bottom number, it won't be the bigger or the smallest number. There's no rule like that. It will just be whatever is 100%. And so you can see the 62 is what you started with. So this is 100% here. So this will be 62 in here, because you start with 62 and then you've gone up. So this was your original amount here, and times by 100 again. Okay, so the third one. Okay, so this time you got £89. And you're decreasing, so it's going down to £54. So you can choose whether you find the bottom or the top of the fraction first. So I'll find the bottom this time first. So if I have a look at these two, which one's the 100%? Hopefully you can see it's this one here, because this is before anything's happened to it. So the 89 will go in here. Okay, and so on top, so it wants you to find the percentage decrease. So you need to find the difference again between 89 and 54, because that will be how much it's gone down. That's this bit here. So if you do 89, take away 54, then you get 35. And that's what goes here. So, and this will find you all the percentages. All these percentages are rounded to 2 decimal places, by the way, so your percentages will probably be quite a lot of decimals. I'll have a go at one of them now. Let's try. So this one here, for example, the actual answer that you get is 47.0 with a recurring on it. So 5, 8, 8, 2, 3, 5, and it actually goes on for ages, okay? So what you do with a decimal, just the same with everything else, they'll often tell you how to round it. I've decided myself to round them to 2 decimal places in this case. So that's how I've come up with answers like that. And almost always when you have these grey kind of questions, your answers are going to come out with a very long decimal on the end, and you need to choose how to round that. Alright, now let's talk about the 2 different types of interest that you can have. So firstly, simple interest. what's going on here is you take your first original amount, and that's the only number that you find a percentage from. So for example, if you have here £250, and over 4 years, each year, you gain 2% interest on this amount, what that means is you'll get 2% of this 250 every year. And as you can see, if you get 2% for 4 years, in the end you'll end up with 8% of this £250. And so you can use this, the easier, the type 1 percentage method that we're talking about, to figure this out. So if you have £250 at the moment, and that's your 100%, and you just want to add on 8%, so you can see in the end you'd end up with 108%. So this is your decimal that you're going to use. So in the end you're going to have your 250 times 1.08, which is your decimal version of your percentage. And that will find you your answer of 270. Or if you only meant to find the actual amount of interest that you're finding, that will be this 8% here. And then that's just the same, but you times it by 0.08, and that will tell you exactly how much interest you got, which is in this case £20. Okay, so this is simple interest. You start with the first number, nice and easy. All right, so compound interest, this is where it starts getting a little bit trickier. So it's the same, but each year you need to find the percentage of your new amount. So you can't just take your original and keep finding 2% of that. Each year you're thinking about what the new amount is that's made and making 2% from that. So if you look here, you can see the first year you make your 255, so you just add on the 2% as usual. But as you get to year 2, it's this 255 that you're finding 2% of. So each year the amount of 2% that you're finding, that 2% is going to get slowly larger and larger actually. So in the first year, if you have 255 afterwards, I'll put my 250 here. So just plus 5. You can see in the next one here you have 260 pounds 10. So that's gone up. And this time what you're adding is you're adding £5.10. So because when you find 2% of 255, it's a little bit more, you can't just take your original amount and find 2% of that. You need to do the sum to find 2% each time to each of these new items. So you can see here you're going to times your new one by 1.02, and your next one by 1.02, and the next one by 1.02. So what you're actually doing is you've got your 250, and you times that by 1.02 to find your percent, and then you times that percentage by 1.02, and the next one, and the next one. And a short way to write this, if you're happy with your indices, is just like this. Okay, so if you're confident with your indices for compound interest, you can basically put the power of how many years or how many times that interest is going to happen, and that will build up and add those over the years. There is another version of this compound interest, and that's called depreciation, which is when something goes down and you have to find the new percentage that it goes down by each year or each time that happens. So we'll just have a quick look at that as well. Okay, so let's say here then you've got this depreciation. It says after purchasing a used car for $4,500, the price depreciates by 17% each year. What will the car be worth after 3 years? So So as usual, you know that this is the whole amount, so this is 100%. And when you depreciate it by 17%, you know you'll get 83% here. So each year you're actually finding 83% of the thing before. So you'll start with your 4,500 and you'll times it by 0.83. But actually if you do this over 3 years, you'll do that 3 times. And that will slowly find 83% of the new amount and the new amount and the new amount again. And again, in the end, you can do this. And that will make the same result there. Okay, so that'll be exactly the same result. So just to reiterate, if you did it 3 times, so you're taking this new number each time and timesing it again by your new amount, that would be the same as if you did this sum here. So if you try this in your calculator now, you'll see it still makes 4,500 times 0.83 to the power of 3 will just be the same number here, which is exactly what I've just got. Right, so that's depreciation. So there's only one type of percentage left actually, and that's this reverse percentage here. So the thing about reverse percentage is if you're confident with your inverse functions, your inverse operations, then this isn't too difficult because you already know how to find a percent. So to reverse that percentage, you'll just do the opposite sum. So it says here a car drops in price by 30%. The new price is 4,480. What was the original cost? So one of the most important things here is to figure out which piece of information you need to find out, because all of the other questions that we've done, we've been told this piece of information, we've been told another piece of information, and we do need to find out the answer. But in these questions, they actually tell you the answer, and they normally tell you this piece of information here, and you often have to find the original. Okay, so let's have a look. So a car drops in price by 30%, so you know this is minus 30% here. Okay, and the new price here is 4,480. Now what you need to ask yourself is what percentage is this? That's incredibly important. Okay, so what percent is this? Well, you know the number that you begin with, that's always your 100%, that's your original number. And we don't know what that number is, but we do know what all the percentages are. Okay, if this is 100% and you take off 30%, you should know what you've left up with here is you've got 70%. So it's just really important to recognize that you don't have the answer. So they've given you, you don't have the original, so they've given you the answer, but they haven't given you the original here. And what you need to do is you need to think about what would you do to find this answer, and then you're going to go back the other way. So if you have 100% and you take off 30%, how do you find 70%? That's what you're asking yourself, and you know that you would times by 0.7. Okay, but the thing is, you're not trying to go that way, you're trying to go the other way. So if you think about your inverse operations, what's the opposite of times? It's divide. So if you divide by that amount, that will make you go backward. You'll go back the other way. So if you do 4,480 divided by 0.7, that will give you your original answer, okay? Which is 6,400 in this case. So that's what's happening there with that reverse percentage.